All right. It is 9 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the 12th episode of the Revolutionary Code, where we bring the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, black people, melanated black people here in America. I am your host, Brother Tamani M. Wandani out of Houston, Texas. I am the direct revolutionary product of one Cardinal and Bayou Chewy of the Shrines of the Black Madonna, and the indirect revolutionary product of one Albert B. Clegg, African name Jeramogi Abebe Ajiman, the father of liberation theology and the founder of the Shrines of the Black Madonna. I am also the founder of the Black Gold Nation movement. My co-host is the National Director of Political Strategy and Implementation for the Black Gold Nation movement and the chairman of LACE, Liberation Advocates for Community Empowerment, the intellectual gangster and corporate grassroots revolutionary from Shreveport, Louisiana, aka The Boot, Brother Craig B. Lee. How you doing this evening, Brother Craig?
I am doing absolutely great. And in the phenomenal word of that hardcore principal Joe Clark, I am doing splendiferous.
Well, amen. All right, if you're joining us via Zoom and you have a question throughout, please post your question in the chat. If you want to be seen on the camera on screen, please make sure your phone is turned sideways so I don't get any feedback from our marketing department. And if you are joining us via Facebook, when we start going live on Facebook and sharing, if you have a comment, please post that in the comment section as well. Before we get started this evening, please give me a minute to tell you about the Black Gold Nation movement from a high-level overview. Our ultimate goal is to put our people, black people, in a position by which we can own and or control the environment. We want to do that because it's been proven time and time again that when we allow other people to control our environment, we lose, period. When we allow other people to control any aspect of our environment, any system within our environment, we always find ourselves on the bottom, be it agricultural systems, economic systems, educational systems, spiritual systems, political systems. Whenever we allow other people to control any aspect of our environment via those systems or the entire environment, amazingly, we always find ourselves on the bottom. So since we don't want to continue to be on the bottom, we believe that we black people need to be in control of the environment in the space in which we live. So our ultimate goal is to create as many Black Wall Street modeled communities as possible, because the only way we're going to be safe, do our own thing as we see fit to move the black forward, the black mind, body, spirit, and psyche, is if we are in control of the environment and everything within it. So we are not here just to inform or educate you. We want to inform, educate, motivate, mobilize, organize, and build. Every single thing we do is about getting you, black person, on board to help us build a nation within this nation for our people, period. Everything we do is about bringing black people together so we can find the right black people so we can move forward and build. That is what we're trying to do. Tonight's show title is Breonna Taylor, Daniel Cameron, and the ugly reality of capitalistic white supremacy and racism. Breonna Taylor, Daniel Cameron, and the ugly reality of capitalistic white supremacy and racism. As I said in the beginning, this is episode 12. For the past 11 weeks, we've talked about in great detail the 6 different factions of African descendants. We've given real life examples of each one of those factions. We've talked about the only 2 problems that black people, melanated black people, really have. We've talked about the pseudo solutions being presented to our people, who's presenting those solutions and why. We talked about why mobilizing and organizing black people is our only real answer. We talked about the history of the philosophy behind white supremacy. We talked about manifest destiny and divine rights of kings. And of course, we talk about the 6 pillars of empowerment, which is our answer and solution to push back against all of that. We talked about all those things and so much more over the past 11 weeks. And if any of that is confusing to you, or you have no idea what I'm talking about, www.blackgoldmedia.net is our digital media network. You can go there and watch all of those episodes. And now it's time to bring all of that stuff home. We want to bring it all home and explain to our people how this philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy and racism, how it actually looks when it's in action, what that looks like in real life, because we've gone beyond the background and the history. And now we need to get into the real life aspects of this system that we live in, which has been anti-Black for a very long time, since we've been here at least. Okay, since we know, Brother Craig, that everything about capitalistic white supremacy and racism is based on their philosophy, their belief system, we need to start not with the case itself, but with the man driving the case, the Attorney General of Kentucky, Mr. Daniel Cameron. So to give everybody an understanding of how diabolical and calculating this whole thing is, tell us a little bit about Daniel Cameron, the Attorney General of Kentucky.
So we have an individual who is has been cultivated to be a house Negro. I don't know if it was all the way from his family environment growing up, because his mother and father, mother is a professor at a community college, and I think his dad was a business owner in Kentucky. So I don't know if, this is one of the bourgeoisie Negro type things. Perceptively, obviously, it sounds like it. But here's a individual who ends up going to Louisville University to play football. He was not good at all. And he becomes enamored, of course, with the Eurocentric lifestyle. And that is how he got enamored with wanting to be in this political spectrum that he finds himself in. He ends up going to graduating, going to law school, and he finds himself an avenue, like many pseudo bourgeoisie Negroes find their avenue with the Republican Party. And like I've constantly educated our people, whether you're a Democrat, or a Republican, both parties are pimping. But a lot of people who can't gain access into the Democratic realm, he went the Republican realm. He ends up becoming connected to Mitch McConnell, who is the highest ranked now in the Senate. He's a senator from Kentucky. And so he became a little pawn, if you will. And Mitch McConnell began the process of using him. And this past year, a deal was cut for the Democratic governor, who became initially he was the Attorney General, but he became the governor. And a deal was cut now for a Democratic governor to basically endorse a Republican entity who was not even qualified to be the next Attorney General. This is where it comes in. And you have to understand how this, again, philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy works. Some people may say, well, why would a Democratic governor recommend a Republican to be the Attorney General? And this was the first time that this had happened in 70-year history of the state of Kentucky. And the whole thing gets back to the corona, the government shut down. So now federal funding is needed. So it's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But so that's the politics behind it, as well as protecting the system of white supremacy. So he gets in, he's engaged to a white female. So again, this tells you what his mindset is really all about. And he's immediately tested with this case of Breonna Taylor. And if you go back and look at any of his comments, he was endorsed by the Fraternal Order of the Police. And the president of that organization for the state of Kentucky said, and I quote, "He will be there for us in the future." Not today, but in the future. And I'm talking about this, the creator is working in such a powerful way to bring these individuals out. And that's why I love Donald Trump being in office, because he is pulling the veil off of the United States,
right.
because he is exposing, the creator is forcing him to expose the hypocrisy, the racism, the just outright evil of the system. And unfortunately, a lot of our people still are not getting it, and they don't understand that he's working on behalf of the Democratic Party. But neither here nor there. This guy now has stepped to the table to do exactly what the police department knew he would do, and that was to stay the course and now use this sister's death to bolster his political career with white folks in Kentucky. And the creator is going to show him the power of righteousness over evil, because this case is never going to go anywhere. People are vested with this case, just like they were vested with Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, Mike Brown, Eric Garner. They are vested with this case. And from that standpoint, that's who this guy is. And he's playing a lot of political game to show the system, the architects and the engineers of the system and the game, that he's one of them. The pressure continue to be put on him by grassroots people. So all of the things that are going on throughout the world is culminating. And I will say this before I turn it over to you. One of the biggest lies that has been told is that protesting doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And we now know that that is a lie. And most people who say that, they've never protested, they don't do anything, they just talk from the sidelines. But the protesting from a variety of different levels is what has been keeping the pressure on this case. And you have to be able to keep pressure on in order for this to actually happen.
Dig it. Okay. So Daniel Cameron, he's a protege of Mitch McConnell, who's a Republican senator of Kentucky. He's pledged his allegiance to the Republican Party. Daniel Cameron has. He's pledged his allegiance to the Fraternal Order of Police. He has sought to strike down all pandemic-related restrictions on businesses and churches in Kentucky. He's been endorsed by Trump. Why is it significant that we, the melanated Black people in this country, why should we know where this man came from and who put him there? Why is that important for us to know?
Because everything, whether you're writing a book, whether you're trying to produce a movie, if you're the author of words, people need to know your influence. And it's going to tell them why you believe what you believe, why you write what you write, why you act the way that you act. And it's going to tell you about the connection, the network. So you have to know the intel about individuals so that you can really start to piece together the puzzle. Because you don't just become Attorney General and you've never tried a damn case.
Right. Yeah.
Damn. I mean, you've never even did a defense case, let alone a prosecutorial case. And so you got to understand all of these things. And we can't find the actual relationship between his so-called wife and Mitch McConnell, but the word is that she is a relative. I've heard granddaughter, I've heard niece, but they've done a very good job of hiding her on the internet. You really can't find anything on her, but I can't connect the dots to the highest court in the land with a sellout Negro by the name of Uncle Tom Clarence Thomas.
Uh-huh.
His wife, to show you why this is important, he came out of nowhere. If people can remember, he was over the EEOC. And he came out of nowhere. But all you have to do is look at who his wife is.
Right.
She's the cousin of George Bush. So all of these things are connected. These people are, in many instances, relatives, spouses of relatives, fraternity brothers, sorority sisters, Masonic brothers, Eastern Star sisters. I mean, all of this. So it all plays together because it's all a part of the network. And grassroots people have to start to learn this is how this works. Because in business, people do business with who they like and or know. And you're absolutely correct, Sister Fabu, the family. And I urge all of you, if you haven't seen that series, you need to check it out, The Family.
It's on Netflix.
Netflix, it ties it all together.
Cool. Okay, and everything that you've mentioned about Daniel Cameron, all of that is about power and politics, correct?
That's correct.
Cool. Okay, so for those who might not know, we're talking about Breonna Taylor, Daniel Cameron, and the ugly reality of the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy and racism. For those that don't know, give us a quick overview of the Breonna Taylor murder as we go into this thing in detail.
Well, you have a beautiful sister who was murdered in Louisville, Kentucky earlier this year. And there was a no-knock warrant issued for her residence based on her affiliation with her ex-boyfriend. And they knew that the guy did not live there. They knew that the guy was incarcerated, but there was a warrant obtained, no-knock warrant obtained for, I think her ex-boyfriend's name was Jamarcus Glover. And on this particular day, they entered the home at 1 a.m. in the morning, her apartment, and began the process of barging in, and her current boyfriend ends up firing a warning shot, and then all hell breaks loose, and then she's shot 6 times and is murdered on the scene. And as a result of that, we get one of the biggest cover-ups of a case in U.S. history. She was not a trap queen, like a lot of these fools are promoting. She was an EMS worker for the city of Louisville, Kentucky, which is very interesting. And she was a good person. They have not been able to link her with any criminal activity, so they began to work the spin by trying to link her with her ex-boyfriend, Jamarcus Glover. And from that point to now, Daniel Cameron comes in and perpetrates the fraud that he's going to prosecute the case or investigate the case, I should say, in an objective fashion. And that is not what has happened. So currently, as it stands, the walls of her apartment are receiving some justice because the bullet penetrated the walls, went into the apartment of her next door white neighbor who was supposedly pregnant. And that's one officer has been accused of wanton endangerment. And wanton endangerment. And we had to go get the Black's Law Dictionary to pull that out, but it means not a goddamn thing.
Right, right.
And that's what we have. But no one has been charged or indicted. And I know we're going to get into discussing the bogus grand jury process, but they used the bogus grand jury process to hide behind that in order to now allow this Uncle Tom Negro to skate without having to do his goddamn job.
Dig it. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting, and where we begin to really see how this game is played, and the ramifications of politics, and what they do with political power that they have. So I've broken this thing down into 4 areas, and you just touched on the first one, the crime that the one officer is being charged with. That's the first area. The second one is secret grand juries. The third one is the AG and his actions, and the fourth one is the grand jury jurors. Those are the 4 areas. So the first one, the crime, the one officer is being charged with, and you've already said what the crime was, but tell us how politics play a role in him being charged with that particular crime, with, like you said, it has 0 teeth and means nothing. How does politics play a role, or how has politics played a role in him being charged with that crime?
Well, so when you understand the role of a district attorney, it's the basic component of what an attorney general does. So the district attorney works closely with the police department, and they have a close relationship. And so right there you have major politics that go on, because the district attorney's office needs the law enforcement to gather up the evidence so that they can prosecute various crimes. And so all of that involves politics. And that can be some good stuff, that can be bad stuff, but they have a close working relationship. That's at the local level, all right? Now we move to the state level. The Attorney General functions roughly the same way. He is the district attorney for all district attorneys in the entire state, all right? And so he is perceived as the top prosecutorial individual in any state. So now you got the politics of the local district attorneys that now morph into the state, and then you got the police unions and all of these things, law enforcement unions, that morph into the connection with all of the district attorney unions, and you got the sheriff unions, the police unions. I mean, you got all these goddamn unions, all these layers that actually connect. And so there's a lot of pressure to now do your step and infection routine. Mm-hmm. And so politics abound within that entire process. And so when politics abound, remember now, I told you, the Fraternal Order of the Police support him.
That's right.
100%.
That's right.
And so he has to support them because they supported him. So it's quid pro quo. You help me, I'm going to help you.
Right.
Way he looks at it, Negroes can't help him do a goddamn thing. Mm-hmm. And from that overall standpoint, in his mind, he's going to say to hell with justice for Breonna Taylor or any other melanated person. And when it comes to a police officer who commits a violent act, murder, abuses his or her power, and he's going to support that entity. And all of that starts at the local level. All of that starts at the local level. And Excellent. It's all politics.
And the fact that like you just said, there are so many layers and it's so interwoven. There's no way you're going to penetrate it and get what you are looking for, get what you deserve, get justice, if you don't understand it, if you're not mobilized and organized to push back against it, if you don't have someone who is a part of the system, or you're not seeking to run that aspect of the system, especially on a local level, it's simply too much. And that's where our people, we constantly fall short in trying to get the justice that we deserve, because everything you just said, who knows all that stuff? So if you don't know that, you're not gonna win, and you're not gonna get what you're looking for, no matter how much you protest and march. And of course, it has its place, but if we want to ultimately get the justice that we deserve, you got to understand how this thing is interwoven and how it works. Okay, exactly. So that was area number one. Area number two: secret grand juries. What are they, and how is that process political?
So let me give you, and this was phenomenal. I found the history of the grand jury system as I was doing a little research on this. And let me just read this little small paragraph so people can understand this. This is political within itself, because the origin of the grand jury is a noble thing. Mm-hmm. But you're no longer under this type of governmental structure. So only two countries actually maintain this in the Western Hemisphere, and that's the United States. Well, Liberia is not there; is in Africa, but you pretty much know why Liberia does it, because they're an extension of the United States. But here's listen to this. The origin of the grand jury system has been traced to 12th century England, where it was created to produce revenue and counter ecclesiastical court. Over the course of the ensuing 5 centuries, the grand jury eventually transformed into a citizen safeguard against the monarchy. Okay, so this is where you have a king.
Right.
Okay, coming to stand between a prosecutor and the accused to assure that the government was not pursuing charges for improper purposes. Being a protection against the monarchy, the grand jury came to be known, get this, as the voice of the community, or the people's panel. Get it?
Yep.
See, so they want to create the illusion that this is an objective, wonderful thing, and was a prominent feature of colonial American law. Given the import of this protection to the founding fathers, it was written into the Constitution by what? The Fifth Amendment.
Okay.
And I know we're going to get into something that Judge Mathis talked about, but this is where he was referencing this, which provides that no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. Under the Fifth Amendment, criminal prosecution of any federal crime that would be punishable by more than 1 year imprisonment must be initiated by a grand jury's indictment. So that's the history, the brief history of it, a noble thing. But of course, we're no longer a monarch. And then when you understand the politics of the attorney general or the district attorney, now we get into the dynamic that this is not a traditional court. There is no judge, and the only person that's running the show, there's no defense attorney.
Right.
The only person that's running the show is who? The prosecutor.
That's right.
So the prosecutor's politics is in favor of an individual who is perceived to be tried. See, because what Daniel Cameron did not want to do is try them himself, because he could have done that.
Yep.
So now we're going to put it to who?
The jurors, the people. That's right.
But I'm only going to tell the goddamn people panel what I want them to hear about the people that I've been sworn to protect. But wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to protect the citizens. No.
No.
For the citizens. And so this is the game. And if you're not in this game, there's no way you're going to be able to figure this out. So that's the grand jury process. And so the grand jury is a political tool that is used by district attorneys and attorney generals to manipulate pro or con a political position that they want. The same thing was used in the Mike Brown case. And, you know, it's the infamous saying of a lot of attorneys is that if a district attorney wanted to prosecute a ham sandwich, they could do that.
Right.
And if they wanted to get charges, they could have. In this particular situation, his politics is in alignment with his white supremacy backers, who are the Republican Party, Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump, and the like.
Dig it. I'm going to share this brief video that I sent to you of Judge Mathis talking about the grand jury and its secrecy and how it needs to be abolished. And then I'm going to come back and say a few things about that, and then we'll keep it going. So give me a quick second to share my screen. You should be able to see it right now. Can you see it, Brother Craig? My screen, Facebook. Okay, you see it? Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to play this and we'll watch it.
Senseless murder of Breonna Taylor at the hands of police officers who shot her 6 times and killed her during a sloppy, botched raid of her apartment. No officer was charged for her murder. There were no charges of any kind related to the bullets that killed Breonna Taylor, a beautiful human being. Instead, an officer was prosecuted for bullet damage to the neighbor's wall. Once again, property. There are so many issues here, but let's talk about the problem with grand juries. It's time to get rid of them. Grand jury proceedings are shrouded in secrecy. The proceedings are led solely by a prosecutor. In this case, the prosecutor didn't even ask the jury to consider murder as a possible charge. Prosecutors routinely give police officers preferential treatment because they need the officers for other cases. Those in favor of abolishing grand juries state that prosecutors often easily sway the jury, and there's no system of checks and balances since there is no judge or defense attorney present during grand jury proceedings. As a result, the jurors just follow the prosecutor's lead. Breonna Taylor protests continue because once again a grand jury has refused to hold the police accountable. One of the jurors on the grand jury expressed concern about the prosecution. Indeed, a judge had to order the prosecutor to turn over the evidence. These steps wouldn't even have been necessary if we just did away with the secret grand jury. But it's not that simple. Short of a constitutional amendment, the elimination of the grand jury seems unlikely. However, we can certainly work to change the process by lifting the secrecy. Removing the secrecy would require an amendment to the state's criminal procedure rules. You should call your state representatives and demand that change. The good news is that Kentucky is one of the states that allows a second grand jury to ensure prosecutors will be fair and competent. So Kentucky, let's impanel a new grand jury with a new prosecutor. Justice and peace are at stake. And most importantly, Breonna Taylor deserves it.
So what's interesting about that, and of course I did not know this, but like, hold on, my video's playing. Give me a second. All right. But what's interesting about that is the proceedings are led solely by the prosecutor, like you said. The prosecutor can determine what the jurors are seeing, the information that they have, and what they're voting on. There is no judge or defense attorney present, so I don't know who the hell is speaking for the victim here, right? Jurors have no choice but to follow the prosecutor's lead because there's no other information being given. And the judge had to order the prosecutor to turn over evidence. So how you gonna win if the prosecutor, if his philosophy is driven by a belief system that you don't count, that he's not accountable to you, and the whole thing is about taking care of those that are connected to him, those that got him to where he is, and those with money.
Exactly.
Which goes to the importance of us understanding how this whole thing is played, because if we don't understand how it works, you will continue to do what we've been doing, and we will never get justice.
Exactly. Right. Or you start to conjure up.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Fantasies and idealism and fictional pseudo solutions that will never get us anywhere.
Dig it. All right. So if you missed the intro and you are just joining us, or you joined us late, you're listening to the Revolutionary Code, where we bring the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, melanated Black people here in America. Tonight's show is our 12th episode, and it's titled Breonna Taylor, Daniel Cameron, and the Ugly Reality of Capitalistic White Supremacy and Racism. My name is Tamani Mondani. I'm the founder of the Black Nation Movement, and my co-host this evening is Brother Craig B. Lee, who is the National Director of the Black Nation Movement's Political Strategy and Implementation Department. Okay, Brother Craig, I've already given the first two areas. We have two more left. Area number 3 is the AG, the Attorney General, and his actions. How were his actions? How were his actions political, and what were the implications of his politics? How was what he was doing? How was that political, and what were the implications of that politics?
Well, we've kind of already touched on that in terms of his connection to Mitch McConnell and the Fraternal Order of the Police. So no one was prosecuted for killing his sister. He dragged this out for 6 months, created the illusion that some in-depth investigation was going on, and ironically, we found over the past month that the bullet that was fired by Breonna Taylor's current boyfriend in defense, by the way, in defense of themselves in their residence, was not even the damn bullet that struck the police officer.
Yep.
We've now found out through ballistic testing that the damn bullet came from one of the other cops. So look here, man, this thing here, the creator is like really, really working. And needless to say, everything about this was political, and everything that he's done has shown why, and even deeper, to show that the white folks, to show to the white folks in Kentucky that he didn't give a damn about Breonna Taylor. He did his jungle fever wedding while this case was going on. And if you believe that that's just by chance, you're crazy.
Wow.
Because he wanted to let them know they can depend on him. And this is where our people got to get out of the mindset of believing that every damn evil person can be redeemed and can be saved.
Right.
Some of these people are just going to have to be bust upside the head with a goddamn shoe. It's just about bottom line.
Yeah.
And so everything that he did in this case was bogus. It was unprofessional. But after they cut the deal to give Breonna Taylor's family $12 million, they were supposed to just go away, which is what most Negroes do.
Sure.
But the good thing is, hey, you got us paid now. Damn it, justice.
Right.
So I'm glad they stayed in the fight. But yeah, everything about this was political.
Dig it. Okay, and the last one, the grand jury jurors, how were they pawns in a political game that they weren't even aware of?
Well, most of these folks are not going to ever, read as to what this thing is. They just show up, and the criticism of grand jury is broken up. I find 4 of them, and here's the first one. It's called the jury makeup, and it says here the most persistent criticism of grand jury is that the jurors are not representative sampling of the community. So, but how would we know that if they are what? Secret.
Right. Don't tell nobody.
And are not qualified for jury service in that they do not possess, listen to this, a satisfactory ability to ask pertinent questions or sufficient understanding of local government and the concepts of due process. What the hell do we always talk about on Revolutionary Code? What do I always break down? The process of what? Local government.
Local government, right. Yeah.
The process of obtaining due process.
That's right.
So this is one of the main arguments. So you got, in many instances, they're going to be retarded, ignorant, crazy ass people on the grand jury. Don't nobody know who they are. But now they're expected to understand all of the dynamics.
Right.
There's no defense attorney, no judge. So the prosecution says, hey, this is where it's at.
Right.
So let's say, unlike potential jurors in regular trial, grand jurors are not screened for bias or other improper factors.
Wow.
They are rarely read any instruction on the law, as this is not a requirement. Their job is to only judge on what the prosecutor produced.
Jesus.
The prosecutor drafts the charges and decide which witnesses to call.
So where is the justice in that? I mean, seriously, that shit is so skewed. I mean, what?
Now do you see how many of our relatives back in the day could easily, and even today, can easily be accused of a crime, and now the prosecutor says, you know what, I'm going to leave it up to the people's panel.
Right.
Because they are good, upstanding people.
Right.
And we're going to let the grand jury hear it. Okay, so let's see what they're going to say. No. Well, what about my lawyer? No. It's secret. But it's justice going on.
But it's secret.
Justice. It's secret. It reeks of what America is all about. Hypocrisy and evil and a just sinister attitude that they can do any goddamn thing that they want to do. And like I said, if it were not for Donald Trump and his hardcore overt racism, none of this would be going on. So I appreciate the creator for allowing the Democratic Party and the Republican Party to use Donald J. Trump to start to awaken some of our African descendants and other ethnic groups as to the hypocrisy of the American hustle game of capitalistic white supremacy racism.
Do you think that the removal of the secrecy when it comes to grand juries, do you think that should be a part of every grassroots melanated Black politicians campaign? You think that should be something that every grassroots politician needs to be pushing, the removal of the secrecy from these grand juries?
Well, if you're in the legislative branch of pursuing a seat on the city council, the county or parish commission, state legislature, yeah, I mean that would be a very important thing. But again, there's so many layers to this thing because they're able to screen jurors off of a regular jury.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, because I'm totally involved in the process here in Shreveport, Louisiana, you learn from our inside contacts that a lot of Negroes try their best to not even serve on the goddamn jury.
Right.
You know, they lie. Oh, I got to go to work. I ain't got time to be. I mean, our people don't even understand the magnitude
of that decision. Yep.
Everything is about carrying their asses to work or going to shop.
Right.
Or sitting on their ass.
Yeah.
In terms of civic responsibility, they could give a damn. Political responsibility, they could give a damn. But nothing that they are benefiting from, they earn themselves.
Right. Came from somebody else sacrificing. Yep.
Somebody else sacrificed for their ass. And they don't even want to vote. They don't even want to serve on the damn jury.
Right.
I mean, and so they will literally, some of these people will say, you know, I'm all for the death penalty, you know, knowing that that's gonna get them kicked off, you know.
and you know, Brother Craig, that this is why it's so important, man. This is why it's so important that we have these conversations and we talk about real world stuff, because you know as well as I do that we've talked about pseudo solutions of Black people trying to separate without political power, Black people trying to do their own thing without voting. And I'm gonna just go back through a few of the things that we've covered about Daniel Cameron and this whole case. A protege of Mitch McConnell, the Republican senator of Kentucky, pledges allegiance to the Republican Party, pledges allegiance to the Fraternal Order of Police, seek to strike down all the pandemic restrictions for businesses and churches, damn people's health, endorsed by Trump. The crime that he charged the officer with was crap. The allowance of secret grand juries and what he allowed them to see. His actions and everything he did politically motivated. The grand jurors didn't even have that shit is a joke. With all of that being the reality of politics in this country as it relates to Black people, you got Black people that don't even believe in voting.
Yeah.
So if you have a group of Black people who don't believe in voting, and this is the reality of politics, and you're not voting, what are you doing, Black people? And that not voting thing is pervasive, man.
Yeah.
And that's why we keep losing, because we don't get it.
Look, I had a conversation today with a young sister, and I connected her with one of my phenomenal teammates and mentees, Jerry Lindsay, on some financial services, and we wanted to save her from making the mistake of joining up with Primerica and that goddamn multi-level marketing foolishness. And so we saved her, but she's been on this enlightened path for the past few years, and she said something that she's so proud of. She's about to vote for the first time this year. You know why?
Why?
She's a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the goddamn Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, right. They don't believe in voting.
Hell no. Think about this now.
Yeah, and this ties into religiosity. Go ahead.
Millions of Negroes rolling with some foolishness, believing that they're gonna be swooped up in the damn rapture.
Right.
I remember asking one Negro who was a part of them. I set him up so cold, brother Tamani. I said, how many members of Jehovah's Witness do y'all have in y'all crew? We have over 7 million.
With pride, chest full of air.
I said, man, that's a lot. Yeah. I say, well, damn. your scripture says that only like 166,000 y'all ass gonna be able to make it on the damn ship. Where is the 6.9 million gonna goddamn? Boy, they couldn't say nothing.
Yeah.
All of those people ain't even voting.
Yep.
And there's some other religious groups
Sure.
who believe that, bro, this is what but they're benefiting from the sacrifices of our ancestors.
Right.
And that's why when you allow people to constantly get caught up in the whole Democratic, Republican two-party system and not understanding that we have to become an independent voting bloc.
Yep.
One of my good partners told me today, okay, Craig, that sounds good. We'll do that later. And I was reminded before we got on this broadcast tonight of Malcolm X's quote about education, where Malcolm says, education is our passport to the future.
Mm-hmm.
To the future now.
Yep.
Tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it
today.
Goddamn day.
That's right.
Prepare for the future next week. You don't prepare for the future in 5 years. You prepare for the future today.
Right.
And our people just don't get this.
Yep.
And it's so sad because they really want white folks to stop being evil.
Right.
And start to love them. Right.
Yeah. And we think we can appeal to the humanity of a people who have never been humane toward us.
They ain't got no damn humanity.
It's like so again, they have constantly proven to you that they do not care about you, yet you're gonna try and get them to realize that I'm a human being too, when it's obviously they don't give a damn. But you know, like we say, that is evidence of our psychosis. We keep butting our heads up against that wall thinking they're going to change, and they're not going to. But you know, as we also say, you know, it ain't for everybody, and everybody won't get it.
and that's why, as it relates to the Black Gold Nation, in the words of the rapper, what is his name? Yeah, the movie was State Property. Bugsy Siegel.
Okay.
Benny Siegel. Similar to Bugsy Siegel. He said, and I love it, you either gonna get down
or you gonna lay down.
But you're gonna get out that goddamn way one way or the other.
That's right. Yeah.
We don't pray for no Negro to come up with some miraculous mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
You either gonna get down or you gonna lay down. Ain't gonna be no more prayers for no sellout Negro.
Right. And
damn sure ain't gonna be no more prayer. One of my good elders in the barbershop last week gonna tell me about John Wallace, George Wallace, former governor of Alabama. A cracker who said segregation today, segregation tomorrow.
Segregation forever. And he meant that.
Because he got a cap busted in his ass and became paralyzed. And I love Negro. Jesus has healed it.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. How in the hell are we this naive? And so the same dude who is against Trump now, listen to this. He says, Chris, we're going to pray for Trump and maybe he'll change just like George Wallace. I say, what?
And you know we believe that, right, Brother Craig? You know we believe that prayer changes everything. Yeah.
Bruh.
You got to
you just got to tell.
Man, you got to give it to white people. You got to give it to white people. You talking about diabolical? Anyway, yeah, we got 3 more questions. Well, 2 more questions, and we'll be done. Okay, so of course, the Breonna Taylor case isn't unique as it relates to how politics plays a role in the outcome of these types of cases. We know that. Can you name a few, 2 or 3, high-profile murders over the past year or so, whereby a Black person was murdered by the police, and politics played a role in justice not being served? Can you give us, and you already mentioned Mike Brown, which is one of them, but can you give us 2 or 3 cases as to how politics played a role in justice not being served?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, you go down to Baton Rouge.
Okay.
In that particular case, where the brother was murdered, those cops ended up not being prosecuted. Alton Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
We already know the Trayvon Martin situation, although he was a security, whatever, rent-a-cop or whatever the hell Zimmerman was. We go up to Ohio with the young child who was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
They were not prosecuted. Tamir Rice.
Right. Right.
I think in the same state, the husband and wife who were murdered by, I think, 50 some odd bullets,
mm-hmm.
being shot into their car, no prosecution. I mean, it's like hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here in the city of Shreveport, we had 2 murders, 2 so-called deaths, we'll call them like that. Recently, right before, a month before George Floyd, and they didn't come out until all the protests. They sat on those 2 cases for over 50 some odd days. No prosecution as of yet, and we have 8, and this made world news. We have 8 police officers who have been indicted for crimes that were not associated with any murder, and one of those individuals murdered Anthony Childs last year, another brother who was walking down the street in the Moortown area of our community, and he was murdered by a savage cop, and they let him off, and we fought for that. So it's constant, it's consistent.
Right.
And it's a multidimensional thing because you got the persistent Negro violence, murder that's going on one hand. Then you got the racist white supremacy going on with not only the white cops, but the Negro cops as well. My good classmate just posted another one out of Minnesota. So you got all of these things going on, and then you have an inactive grassroots community that's not standing up to leverage power and putting advocates in the respective political seats.
Right.
And when you don't have that, you now have a recipe for perpetual oppression. And so all of these cases, very few cases that are ever going to be, justified. I mean, for every one, you probably got 1,000 or 2,000.
Right. I think you just answered the next question. Perpetual oppression. That's what you said, right? Perpetual oppression. Okay. So the next question is, and I think you've already answered it, is I want you to bring all of this ugliness home. Bring it home for everybody. What, if nothing else, should we, the melanated Black population in this country, what should we take away from this case? Is it that if we don't do something, it's going to be perpetual oppression? Or would you answer that question differently? What is the one thing, if any, and I know it's a lot, but if you can only give us one thing to take away from this case, what would that be?
The one thing to take away from this case is that if we don't get off of our asses and mobilize and organize as grassroots people and learn the game and begin to take over land masses where you have majority African descendant populations and take over them with grassroots people who have a spiritual, cultural, educational, economic, social, and political foundation, you can clearly see they don't give a damn, even if you are a sister with no damn, criminal record.
Yep.
And a good sister who worked for the municipality.
That's right.
And I'm gonna say this one thing, Brother Tamani, and I was thinking about this before we got on here tonight, because I shared some light on this before, but it's even more apparent after my good classmate, Augusta Denise Field, forwarded the post about the the inconsistencies of the warrant, because the white boy who obtained the warrant lied to obtain the warrant. And so all of that is, I want you to send that out to various people, that article I sent you last about that. But here's what I started thinking about this. I say, when the guy lied about the warrant, it kind of shed some light on it. There's only one or two things, three things basically, that could happen. They were either so overzealous in their white supremacy and racism that they wanted this Negro, who they had surveilled, going to her home back in January, because the shooting happened in March. So they had surveilled him in January. So they falsified information on the no-knock warrant to obtain it. Mm-hmm. They either were so zealous that they wanted to get him, but I had to rule that out because they knew he was in custody.
Right.
Very few people have brought this up, but with her being an EMT, something tells me that Breonna Stewart probably saw something. Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Saw something. And these people wanted to shut her up.
Yeah, I think she was definitely a target for something, for a reason.
I believe that she's a target.
Yeah.
Because okay, the boyfriend fires, but he's not hit at all.
He's not hit, right.
She hit 6 times.
And you have to assume that he was in front of her, because he wouldn't be firing from behind her. So they aimed for her.
Yeah, something doesn't feel right about this. And my classmate is hitting with some good information when she talked about this warrant. I mean, the whole thing was bogus from the start.
Right.
And when you look at the interview they conducted with the person who falsified the information on the warrant, they asked him a set question. Was it your intent to deceive the judge? Oh, no, it wasn't my intent. No. I could have reworded this different, but it wasn't my intent. What the hell you believe he gonna say?
Mm-hmm. What do you expect him to say?
Yeah. So somewhere in this game, they play that you put on a uniform, your implicit bias, your white supremacy
just goes away.
Goes away. Your retardation, your hillbilliness, your Negroism goes away. But it doesn't.
Right.
No matter what uniform, regardless of what color you put on. But I do implore people to look at that information. That's right, Sister D. Another column. Exactly.
Cool. All right. So the last question is with this level of thought, sophistication, planning, cunning, and evil against us, with this level of activity against us, how can we, melanated Black people in this country, how can we win with this level of cunning working against us?
You know, I'm so glad that my classmate Denise Bill is on the phone, because we go back 35 years to Xavier University, and Denise, I told the audience some time back how we were impacted while attending Xavier by a lot of our classmates from Chicago who were mobilizing and organizing and doing absentee ballots for Harold Washington in 1985, 86 to help him get elected. And, you know, the bottom line is we got to get exposed as Denise and I got exposed at the age of 17, 18 years old to this process at the local level, at all levels of local municipal government. And we got to begin to structure organizations like we have in Shreveport, LACE, the Liberation Advocates for Community Empowerment. They got to join the Black Gold Nation so they can learn how the structural aspects of all of this works. Because yes, like I read to you, one of the complaints about the grand jury, the people that's on the grand jury don't know how local government works. They don't understand enough due process. And I'm sorry, the majority of people just goddamn are ignorant and dumb. I mean, it just is what the hell it is.
Yep.
Because and it's not that they don't have the capacity to learn. The game, this philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy is structured to keep them stupefied, ignorant, dumb, and believing that they are smart. And that's a dangerous thing when you got a dumb person who believes they're smart.
Yep.
You got a person who believes that they're free, but they're slaves. And you got a person who believes that they're adults and men and women, but they're just older children. That's a dangerous recipe. So those of us who are of like mind, like will, we got to mobilize and organize. Tune out the rhetoric of all these naysayers. Tomorrow, LeBron James is going to win this. And you know what, Brother Tamani? I say, you know, people like you and I, we don't stand a goddamn chance. You know why? Because look, when you can hate on LeBron James, when you can hate on LeBron James, bro.
Right. We don't have a chance.
So, but look at what LeBron does. He tunes these punk ass Negroes out. He focuses on his mission. He done got his partners paid. They got the hold on. One of my cousins, but he handles up on his agenda for children with his school. He's a father to his children. Look, man, we don't stand a chance. So what we have to do is be just like LeBron James. Turn these old punk ass haters out. Mobilize and organize the people who are willing to work. Those who embrace spirituality, culture, education, economics, socioeconomics, and politics. Formulate our local group. Connect with our larger Black Gold Nation. And then pimp walk on their ass.
That's right.
When we start these seats. And basically, if they're getting our damn way, put their ass right back on that plantation and make them pick some damn
cotton. All right. So, okay, cool. All right. So with that, brother, that culminates the end of the show, our 12th episode. So before we close out, I want to make sure that no one has any questions for Brother Craig about anything we covered this evening. Before we close this thing out, does anybody have a question for Brother Craig about anything? Everybody good?
No, you know, I already got questions every time. What's up?
Come on, brother. Now, how you doing this evening?
What's going on? I'm all right, brother.
All right.
You see what I'm repping today.
I can dig it.
I got my mail ballot today. Vote by mail is going down.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. Just to let you know.
Cool. Brother, I need to get one of those shirts. That's tight, bro.
That's a nice shirt.
I'll mail you one, baby. I'll mail you one.
Double X, brother. Double X.
No, you gotta lose some weight, baby. We ain't got no double X. I'm just playing. No, we got some big boys in Oakland. Don't worry. So you know, I'm really always down for listening to you, Brother Craig. You're always informative. So what I want to always ask is an intelligent question. So
yeah,
if we do all of this work that we're doing to get involved in politics, but we're still under the oppressive system of capitalism and white supremacy, how are we actually going to win what we're trying to do? Are we going to need to change the system at some point? We can get out of this country and leave? I mean, because once y'all hit me with that grand jury thing, I'm like, oh man, it's so hard. It's so hard. Man, goodness.
No doubt.
My goodness. Come on. If it's that hard, like, man, what can we do? Like, so on the real, and just real talk. What is the real solution to get out of from under this capitalistic white supremacy oppression we are all under? Is it really possible to do it here with so much against us?
Man, let me tell you, not only is that a great question, but you already got the answer right on your body. That 50th anniversary shirt. See, when Bobby Seale and my homeboy, Huey P. Newton, got together, they formulated an understanding that this was going to be a political party. That's the whole concept. Now, they started off, it took them about 8 years to get to the point of where I was at coming into the game, because, again, going back to my upbringing and exposure at the age of 17 as Xavier, it was a little bit more advanced politically than where they were at. But I came in understanding, having been in corporate America, the things that they finally got to. Because you can't just agitate, which that's what they were initially doing. They said, you know what? We got to start taking over the goddamn seat in the city. Remember that, Brother Naru? Bobby Seale runs for the mayor.
Yes, sir.
But they had already been damaged by the FBI. But they started to get to the point of saying, we got to now take over the seat and now create the legislation. So in essence, Brother Naru, at the local level, that allows us to create a system, a micro system within the macro system at the local level and within the state level, okay? And when you create that prototype and you start to stitch those particular cities together, that's now running with the same philosophy of grassroots empowerment that we usher in with the Black Gold Nation. Now we stitch those particular things together, and now ultimately, as we're bringing resources back to our coalition, and we elevate the cooperative economic spending rate from less than 3% where it's at now to roughly our goal of 20%, and we just get 10% of that coming to one conglomerate, grassroots conglomerate.
We're now able to put in place an opportunity to transition while keeping our base here to now do import, export, and relationship partnerships with African nations, with Caribbean nations, and hell, even buy an island to create the physical reality of whatever country we're trying to do. But we're doing it from an inside out component, bringing in our partnerships. If we were to leave right now to go to Africa without any political power, influence, without any financial resources, how are we helping the continent? You see?
No, that's real. That's real. Yeah. So I just want to know if that's the ultimate goal. That's oh. You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
You must be muted.
Okay, no. No.
Is that me?
Muted. Yeah,
that's me.
Must be you.
It's all right. I understand, and that's kind of what I was getting to. Like, ultimately, we do want to have maybe some space outside of the United States, but I do understand the grab of power and making the money here. So I appreciate that, Brother Craig. Wonderfully stated as always.
All right. Hey, Brother Nuru, say that again. I got my sound messed up. Say that again.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay.
Okay, so I was just saying,
I got you.
I definitely understood what you were saying, and I kind of agree that we do have to build a power base here with the time left, with the money that's going on here, and structure it out. But at some point, we might want to have space outside of here. So wonderfully stated as always, brother. I appreciate you always. You always bring the truth.
I appreciate you.
Brother Craig, you know we're looking at, I think, the back of your computer.
You are? Oh,
yeah,
damn.
yeah. It's like the ceiling or outlet or something.
How the hell did that happen?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm still-
Ricardo gonna be mad.
Well, turn your camera off, and that way we'll just go with the Q&A since we about done anyway. So just turn the camera
okay. I'll turn my camera off.
off.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question for Brother Craig about anything? Anybody else? Any questions? Nah, I think any questions going once, going twice. All right, Brother Craig, let's close this thing out, man. What you want to say as a farewell to the show?
As always, I want to thank everybody from throughout the country for joining in, especially my classmate, Denise Beal. We go back 35 years. We had Sister Tyra Jones, one of the most phenomenal Black professionals, business professionals in town. Sister Tyra Seals Henderson, one of the phenomenal doctors of pharmacy out there, and all of our other folks, of course, Brother Naru, Sister Fabu, all of our BGN team. And I'll just leave you with this because I've had to jack a few Negroes up in Shreveport this week who were hating on the fact that we now have the Bayou Classic coming to Shreveport in April, which is the world's largest Black social gathering. And this is a part of what we're dealing with. People who talk about needing things to do to stimulate our economy, and but they will hate on that which we come up on, the opportunity. And I just simply say to us that if we don't believe in us, and if we don't do for us, who will? I mean, nobody's going to do this for us. And if coronavirus, if Donald Trump, the Democrats, the Republicans, the games that they play, if this doesn't show us, and I get it, no spirituality, culture in the majority of our people, but at some point, if this doesn't show us that we got to stand up in spite of our Negro pathology, nothing ever will. But those of us who are ready, willing, able, committed, and dedicated to the mobilization, organization, liberation, empowerment, and advancement of our people, we got to do what we got to do. Keep on pushing and tune the naysayers out and handle our business. And with that, I'm honored to know all of you guys, and I look to continue to working to uplift and fulfill all of what our ancestors, our great freedom fighters, were all focused on.
Excellent. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. For anyone who wants more information about the Black Gold Nation movement, you can always send me an email at theblackgoldnation@gmail.com, theblackgoldnation@gmail.com. If you want more information about what we're doing and how we're doing it, you can go to our events website, blackgold-wakandarising.com. Click on After the Protests and become a part of the 100 city virtual and actual tour that we're having to connect with our people on the ground around the country in 100 cities so we can mobilize, organize, and build. And lastly, if you were confused by any of the things I mentioned at the beginning of the show, as relates to all the stuff that we've covered in the previous 11 shows, then you can watch those episodes on our digital media website platform, blackgoldmedia.net. So again, as I said in the beginning, we're not just here to inform or educate you. We want to inform, educate, motivate, mobilize, organize, and build. Every single thing we do is about bringing our people together so we can find the right Black people who are ready, willing, and able to do something, so we can plug them into a system that's designed to help them do what they say they want to do. At the end of the day, if we don't control the environment, we're going to lose. At the end of the day, if we're not adding to our numbers, we are getting weaker. At the end of the day, if we're not trying to put ourselves in a position to have power to push back against those that currently have it, we're going to continue to lose. So with that in mind, I want to thank everybody for being a part of the show. Please share this with 5, 10, 15, 20 Black people, because the kind of information that Brother Craig is putting out most certainly should be heard by more than 8 Black people. Of course, we are very happy that you guys are here, but it should be 80 and not 80. So please share this with some melanated Black people that you know. So next week we can have more people on the show. And with that, I always want to leave our shows, our live broadcasts, anything that we do with two statements. Always remember that no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely always remember that nothing is more sacred, not me, not you, your kids, my kids, your family, my family. Nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of Black people. Because if our people don't make it, your kids, my kids, you, me, our family, they are also not going to make it because they are connected to the Black group. But if we take care of the Black group first, if we take care of the tribe, of the nation, of the people as a whole first, then by default, all of those that we love will also be taken care of if they are connected to that group. So again, thank you guys for being a part. God bless you. Hope to see you all soon. Have a wonderful evening. And again, thank you for your time. You guys have a good one.
Peace.
Peace.